What is faith? Faith is a strong belief and conviction of something happening, regardless of what things may seem to be on the outside, regardless of any perceived setbacks we may have with that. It is a strong conviction and a deep knowing inside of ourselves of something that will happen. This can be good or this can be bad. Many of us have a tendency to want to believe that faith is a good thing, and there is nothing wrong with that. Faith may mean something different to each person. It may look a little different for each person. It may be applied to one situation more than another in another person's life. Many people go a long period of time in their lives without much faith in good happening, but they might have more faith in bad things happening. They may assume that good things may happen, or they may assume that bad things may happen. Neville Goddard speaks very heavily on the law of assumption and assuming that what we wish to have for our lives will happen. Being in the end state, living in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. These types of things, these types of sayings, these types of belief systems, these types of being, these ways of showing up and existing in this life tends to have more favorable outcomes for us. For example, if I have faith and I assume that I will have favorable circumstances in my career, then it is going to happen. I may not know exactly what that's going to look like. I may not know exactly who is going to be involved. I may not know exactly when I'm going to arrive, quote unquote. I may not know exactly when things are going to happen the way I want. But when I have faith and assume the best is going to happen, then it will happen because it is law. There is something called the Bridge of Incidence, where basically it talks about how when we assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when we assume that what it is that we want is going to happen, then the universe is going to rearrange itself to make those things happen. We may not have an idea of what that's going to look like. This is something we cannot control. This is something that we may not know how it's going to unfold. People will be rearranged to support us. Situations will be rearranged to support us. Things will happen that'll support us. Things will come to our attention that'll support us. Ideas may come to our mind, to our consciousness that may support us in this. These are all a series called the Bridge of Incidence. And all these series of different events that we may not have any control over, that we don't know when it's going to happen, they all lead us to the desired outcome that we seek. There are many different ways that we can get into that state of being, into that state of feeling like it's going to happen, that assuming that what we want is going to happen. There is not a shortage of different manifestation techniques out there. There is not a shortage of different things and tasks that people tell you to do, that content creators tell us to do. Each and every one of them, or at least most of them, have use. But there is an element of letting go. And that is one of the most difficult parts for us, particularly people who still have fear and a lot of blockages to really implement. Letting go is ultimately surrendering and having faith and trusting that what we want is on its way and is already unfolding in front of us, whether we can see it or not. Letting go means I'm not going to obsessively check something to make sure that it's happening. Letting go doesn't mean I'm going to force a relationship to happen, even though my intuition tells me that this may not be right for me, either now or ever. Letting go means that we don't try to manipulate outcomes. Letting go means that we don't try to control things. This is an art, and this is a continuous daily act of surrender. This requires awareness. This requires a bit of mindfulness in knowing, okay, I might be in fear right now. I might be trying to control this. I want to know right now. I'm being impatient. I'm feeling fearful. I'm feeling aggravated. I'm feeling frustrated that why hasn't it happened yet? All of these types of things are just control. That's it. We do it. We're human. We're not going to break out of fear cycles and ways of being overnight. More often than not, this is something that takes a long time to start to develop. It requires effort and persistence. When I notice that I'm having a fear, whether my mind is racing, or my body is feeling tense, or my stomach or my insides are feeling dysregulated in any way, I can give myself permission to step back and take a few deep breaths. There's so many different ways that we can regulate our nervous system to be more calm. And when we are more calm, we are more likely to hear the divine, God, speak to us. Higher thought, if you want to call it. A different perspective. A more trusting way of looking at it. A more faith-based way of looking at it. Whatever terminology you want to use, apply that. When I trust and when I am calm, I'm able to flow in life more easily. I'm able to show up with more grace and more calm than when I'm fear-based, than when I'm freaking out, if you will, than when I am trying to manipulate and deceive to try to get my way, to make sure that something is going to happen. This ties back to, how am I showing up? Am I showing up in the way that I want to? Do I want to show up in a fear-based way of not trusting the universe, however things may turn out, or trusting the divine on what's going to happen? Or do I want to trust that I will be okay? Do I want to be more calm? Do I want to show up more authentically? When we surrender, life gets so much easier. And life is a series of surrenders. Life is a series of letting go, of discarding what no longer serves us. Life is a series of trying to trust and getting back home, getting back in touch with ourselves, within the divine within us. We get to connect with the divine in whatever way we want. Whatever type of meditation it may be, whatever type of journaling prompt or technique it may be, whatever type of breathing technique it may be, whatever we say, whatever we do, whatever we read, however we speak, the people we are with. Those are all part of the divine. Those are all ways that we can connect with the divine. We are the divine. If I know in my bones that I am divine, and that I am a creator, and that I am the universe, and that I am God, then I know that I am able to create what it is that I am meant to have in my life, that I am meant to create in my life, that I am meant to be in my life. Now, when we say, I am God, that may stir some things up for some of us. I know that when I first heard that I am God, I thought that that was delusional. I thought that it was very based in ego. I thought that it was unhealthy. But it depends on what that means to us. I would encourage anyone who feels unsettled by the idea of I am God, or thinking of yourselves as God, to really ask yourselves why. What does God mean to you? What does that really look like? What does that feel like? Is there a God? What is God? Is there something I can learn about this? Is there some belief that I may have about God that might need to get discarded? Do I need to start letting go of that? And do I need to start implementing different ideas and perspectives of what God is? There is not a shortage of spiritual literature and books and podcasts and channels and supports and resources and community that have different perspectives on what God is. And we get to choose what that looks like for us. We get to choose where we go, what we look at, what we listen to. Doing so helps us to create the life that we want, and may be part of the bridge of incidence for us in creating what it is we want for ourselves. Allow yourself to ask these questions, to challenge some of the ideas that you've had in your life that have been taught to you, that have been impressed on you. Allow yourself to step into the person that you want to become. Allow yourself to really take some time and visualize and envision what kind of life you want. What does that feel like in your body? That may be difficult for many of us to actually feel the vision of what we want. We may be able to see in our minds, in our visions, what kind of life we want for ourselves. But feeling it might be different. We may have so many thoughts running in our mind even when we try to envision something of, you can't do that, that's impossible, how is that going to happen, who do you think you are, or any type of thing. Each and every one of us is going to have our own roadblocks to these things. But keep persisting and keep trying and keep exploring these types of topics if this is what is speaking to you. Our intuition doesn't lie. There are no mistakes when we are crossed with a certain type of belief system, when we are introduced to a different way of thinking, a different perspective. There may be some truth to this, and it is up to you on what you do with that truth. It is up to you how far you take it. It is up to you how you implement it, or whether or not you implement it. Each and every one of us has the choices. However, we ask ourselves, is this serving me? Is this helping me? Is this helping me to become the better version of me? The person I want to become? The person I was destined to become? Does this feel right to me? The more we ask those questions and check in with ourselves with those, the easier this becomes. The more we learn about this, the more things unfold, the more we start to step in to that version of ourselves, to step in to that life that we want, to step in to the vision that is actually being created right in front of us and is unfolding right in front of us. Trust is not easy. Belief and faith is not easy. But it is possible. There are many people who have come before us who have struggled with the same things, and there are many people among us currently who struggle with the same things. And there are many people who have come before us who have had a way out of those struggles, a way of living with those struggles, and a way of pushing those fears aside and stepping into the trust and the faith. And there are many people currently among us who are doing the same, who are on this journey, who are stepping into this path, who are creating a new path for themselves with the divine, knowing that they are okay, knowing that there is nothing to fear, knowing that if they do feel fear, that there is a different way to look at it, knowing that even if they do feel fear, that that is okay too, because they are human. The purpose of spirituality in these types of teachings is not to suppress our fears. That is very important for us to remember. We do not spiritually bypass, because it does not always end well for us. It is not healthy for us. When I feel fear, I acknowledge it. I know that it is fear. I can consider where that fear is coming from. I can consider what in my life contributed to this fear. What were some experiences that I've had? And then I have to consider, is this fear actually serving me? Is this fear actually necessary in this situation? I can ask, do I need a different perspective? Do I need some support from another person who I trust, who has the quality of life and the quality of mind that I want, that I respect? Can I get their perspective on this and see what they think? Or can I just get in touch with myself and the divine as a divine person? And will I get my answers from that? There's many of this to think about. There are many ways to implement this into our life. There are many practices to develop faith and to connect with the divine, to create what it is we want for ourselves, to create a better job or a better career, to create a better way of earning, to create a better quality of relationships with our family, to create a better health for ourselves, to create better habits, to create better friendships, to create a better sex life, to create better romantic relationships, to create a better community for ourselves, to be more in alignment with who we are and what we want and what we need for ourselves and who we are destined to become and who we are meant to be. If any of this has made sense to you, if any of this has been helpful, if you wish to learn more, if you want to really delve into this, I trust that you will like, share, and subscribe. And I trust that you are exactly where you are meant to be today, just as I am exactly where I am meant to be today. And with that, have a beautiful day.